Welcome to Emerald Shore's Clinical Education, where we bring various professional development opportunities for mental health professionals and students to you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Richardson, and today I'm going to share a little bit about the importance of self-care, and especially for my fellow Masters in Counseling Psychology students. Today we will look at some of the knowledge and strategies that will help you during your program, during your practicum, and once you're in practice. Before we dive in, I'd like to just share a little bit about me. I have my Honors BA, a B.Ed, M.Ed, and Special Education Specialist. I'm also currently an MACP student, so at 53 I've gone back to school. I'm about a year into the program and approximately 8 months from my practicum. I am a retired educator. I taught for approximately 27 years. I've taught most grades and many subjects, but have always had a special focus and passion for special education. I have experience and certifications in coaching, fitness, nutrition, and I've spent much of my life either coaching, consulting, or training others, and especially with a focus on the holistic well-being of a person. At 53, I'm a single mom of 4, and part of what perhaps qualifies me to be able to share a bit about this topic is I'm living it. So between kids and work and school and aging parents and my aging self, I've had to learn a great deal about self-compassion and balance and self-care. I have published work and have provided workshops to leaders and educators over the years about this topic. So, how do we embrace self-care while balancing our courses, placements, practicum, and personal lives? It's no easy feat, that is for sure. I've asked some of our fellow students and some of my mentors and colleagues to share with us some of the ideas for what they do to help them feel more balanced and their acts of self-care. Small moments for myself: reading, staying organized, meditation, eating healthy, the gym, spirituality, helping others, coffee with a friend, sleeping well, naps, playing with my pet, nature walk, managing my time, indulging in yummy treats, long bath. The thing about self-care and self-compassion is that it takes whatever form it needs to take for you. It is very bespoke and very personal. So, for example, for me right now, reading is not necessarily a moment of self-care because I do so much reading in the program. And for others, the gym may not be where they feel that release. It may be yoga. Playing with a pet for many people brings stress relief and balance, but for others it's just like my son, for example, who's very allergic. That would not be self-care. The point being, you are an individual and your self-care is as individualized as you are. So let's dive into it. You are accepted into the program and now on the path to becoming a counselor. You're excited, although perhaps also nervous. Work starts and reality sinks in. Ooh, this is tough. How am I going to balance it all? There will be times when you start to wonder, how am I going to do this? How is it all going to work? Well, one of the most important things to ensure success is to prioritize yourself and self-care, however that may look for you. You have to put the work into self-care, just like anything else in life, with recognizing your strengths and your needs. Let's consider learning through the Dunning-Kruger effect, which shows that as we begin learning something new, our confidence often rises quickly, but then drops once we realize the complexity of what we don't know yet. This dip is a natural part of the learning process, reflecting the gap between awareness and ability. and it reminds us that feeling uncertain doesn't mean failure. It's simply a stage on the path towards real confidence. As we enter this master's program, we are motivated, eager to learn, and picturing ourselves thriving as future counselors. This is often called the honeymoon phase, the peak of ignorance, where excitement outweighs reality. In the Dunning-Kruger effect, people with low ability often overestimate their skills, showing high confidence despite limited competence. This is actually called the peak of stupidity. I prefer the peak of ignorance. As actual knowledge and skills increase, people become more aware of their limitations, leading to more accurate but sometimes lower self-assessed confidence. But then the workload hits, the complexity builds, and we begin to realize just how much we don't know. Confidence dips and frustration creeps in. This stage has a name. This is the valley of despair. In psychological terms, this is conscious incompetence. From the 4 stages of competence, it's that moment when awareness of the challenge feels heavier than our sense of progress. The key is remembering this dip is normal and temporary. What we are really experiencing here is cognitive dissonance. The discomfort that comes from stretching beyond what feels safe or familiar. And that discomfort is not failure, it's the signal of growth. Some people will refer to this as imposter syndrome, or just simply questioning our abilities and questioning our choices. As the curve starts to rise, that's the stage where resilience kicks in. Carol Dweck calls this the power of a growth mindset, as opposed to a fixed mindset. We know it as the hill to enlightenment, viewing setbacks not as a proof of inadequacy, but as simply part of the process. Every paper written, every client role play, every tough conversation with a supervisor is a step up that hill. It may not feel fast, but progress is happening. Be sure to access your supports, resources, adopt that growth mindset, and please practice self-compassion and self-care. So how do we keep moving out of the valley? We break things down into smaller steps. We reach out to peers. We practice self-compassion. We celebrate even the small wins, be it finishing one reading, one assignment, it all matters. Each little step upward is proof that you're learning, and then slowly but surely we find ourselves on steadier ground. We don't feel perfect, but we notice growth. Our skills are stronger, our confidence is steadier, and our ability to sit with challenges is greater. This is what lies on the other side of the valley of despair. This is the hill of enlightenment. So if you ever find yourself in that dip, please know that you're not alone. Every student, every counselor, every professional goes through it. The Dunning-Kruger effect reminds us that confidence and competence don't grow in a straight line. For us as counseling students, the valley isn't the end of the journey. It's evidence that real learning is taking place and a crucial part of becoming who we're meant to be. Please feel free to take a moment to pause and reflect on the Dunning-Kruger effect summary. As students in the MACP program, we face a variety of stressors that can feel very overwhelming at times. Academic pressure shows up in heavy reading loads, discussion boards, research papers, and the constant need to perform at a graduate level. Balance and time management are daily challenges as we juggle coursework, family responsibilities, and for many of us, jobs. Then comes placement stress, where we're anxious about securing a practicum site, meeting client hour requirements, and transitioning from theory to practice. Even once we're in placement, supervision. It can be stressful. Receiving critical feedback, feeling evaluated can make us doubt our skills. Finally, there is the emotional toll. We're learning to sit with our clients' pain and trauma while also navigating our own vulnerabilities. Together, these stressors can be intense, but naming them helps normalize the experience and reminds us to practice self-care. When we talk about self-care, it's easy to think only about exercise or taking a break. But true self-care is much broader. Research highlights 6 interconnected domains that support our overall well-being: physical, social, emotional, psychological, mental, spiritual, and professional. Each domain represents a different area of our lives that needs attention, whether it's caring for our bodies, managing stress and emotions, nurturing relationships, finding meaning, or maintaining balance in our professional roles. By looking at self-care through these 6 lenses, we can see that it's not just about one activity, but about creating a holistic plan that sustains us as students, future counselors, and as people. Self-care isn't just a nice add-on for MACP students or practicing therapists. It's essential. We must take deliberate action to preserve or improve our health, happiness, and well-being. The demands of graduate training, placements, and eventual clinical practice can be emotionally and mentally taxing. Without intentional self-care, we're at higher risk for burnout, compassion fatigue, and even ethical lapses. When we invest in our own well-being, whether physical, emotional, or professional, we protect our ability to be present, empathetic, and effective with our clients. For us as students, it helps sustain motivation through academic pressure and practicum challenges. For therapists, it ensures that we model balance, resilience, and healthy coping strategies. Ultimately, caring for ourselves directly impacts the quality of care we're able to provide to others. Up next, I'd like to share a short video titled "A Valuable Lesson for a Happier Life." At first glance, it may not appear directly related to counseling psychology, but its message is deeply intertwined with what we're learning about well-being, resilience, and the mindset we cultivate as MACP students and practitioners. As the video unfolds, pay attention to how it defines happiness, not as a destination, but as a practice. A series of small, intentional decisions that shape our daily lives. It highlights themes like clarity of purpose, emotional balance, self-awareness, personal meaning, values, importance, all of which mirror the 6 domains of self-care we've been discussing.
Good afternoon, everyone. We all have this one life to live. A fleeting shadow amongst all that exists in this vast universe. We have the ability to accomplish anything, truly anything, if we use our time wisely. Is this jar full? Yes. Is it full now? Yes. And how about now? Is the jar full now? Yes. Yeah, it is. want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things, your family, your friends, your health, and your passions. The pebbles are the other important things, your car, your job, your home. The sand is everything else, it's just the small stuff. Now, if you put the sand in the jar first, you won't have room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same is true in life. If you spend all your energy and your time on the small stuff, you won't have time for all the really important things that matter to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Take care of the golf balls first, the really important things. Set your priorities, because everything else is just sand. Yes?
Professor, what does the beer represent?
I'm glad you asked. It goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem to be, there's always room for a couple of beers with a friend.
So let's spend some time in each of the domains. Physical to start. Physical is attending to the body's basic needs, right? So it's sleep, nutrition, exercise, health maintenance. It supports overall functioning, it prevents illness, it improves energy, mood. It's foundational for well-being in all of the other domains. Sleep. This one can be controversial, only because some people believe they only need a few hours sleep and they're fine, and others believe they need 7, 10, 12 hours. It's highly personalized. You need to know yourself, understand what your sleep patterns are, understand how you feel on a certain number of sleep, and the quality of the sleep. For example, I'm 53, menopausal, I've had 4 kids, my body is used to getting up a lot. So I'm up every couple hours. I know I need to be in bed 7 hours to get some of that broken hours of sleep, but that's what I need. And for many of you, you may be able to get by on 3, 4, 5, but you know, that daily restoration and the chronic disease risk reduction, and cognitively what's happening with our brains, it's more likely that, you know, that 7-hour number is one we should try to work toward. I cannot emphasize this one enough. Nutrition. I'm a firm believer in it. What you put in is what you're going to get out. Refined sugars, processed foods, starving yourself, junk food, not hydrating, all of those pieces can impact how you feel, how you think, and how you manage stress. I live by something called the 80-20 rule. So I spend 80% of my life eating pretty clean, so healthy, foods that make me feel good, and the 20% I let myself have some fun. You gotta enjoy life, right? So just thinking a little bit more about what you're putting in your body, doing some research into some of, the foods that maybe help you in particular areas. If you're stressed or if you have stomach issues, sleep issues, headaches, just think about the importance of nutrition. Regular exercise is so important for stress relief. It also gives you a cognitive boost. It gives you those happy hormones. It helps you sleep better. And I know you've all heard this a million times, but it does not have to be going to the gym, doing cardio, weightlifting, doing classes. It can be hikes, power walks. It can be simply going up and down your stairs in your home for 20 minutes or something. As long as you're moving, you're elevating that heart rate, you're getting a bit of a sweat on, and it should be, daily if you can. Very important. Daily living habits. So these are the things you should be doing daily. And that includes, hydration is so important. I can't emphasize that enough. And hydration does not mean drinking a ton of juice. If you can, try to get that water in. Coffee, teas, that is not hydration. Beer, that is not hydration. You want to think about, hygiene. So making sure that you're taking care of your health hygiene, and the rests and the breaks are so important. So in your daily living, try to factor in 5 minutes here, 15 minutes there, half hour here. Take those breaks. Very important. So now let's look at social relational. This is nurturing, maintaining, and setting boundaries in relationships with family, friends, colleagues, and your community. Relationships are central to happiness. We know that. They're central to resilience, quality of life, even cognitive capacity. But it's also important to consider social supports protect against isolation and stress. Boundaries. We hear this all the time. Set healthy boundaries. I am the worst for this. I've had to learn this. Saying no when needed. Protecting your personal time and communicating your needs openly to avoid that burnout. The guilt of sitting on the couch and doing nothing on a Saturday, that's a boundary. It's a healthy boundary, as long as you're not doing it every day. You want to make sure you're investing in supportive, positive, meaningful relationships. And this one is tough for some people, right? It's how much do you give to those who aren't giving back? Some people have really embraced the let them theory. It's maybe time to reflect and think about what relationships are giving you, feeding you what you need, and those who are not, perhaps a little bit of space. Engaging in community is important for many. Join groups and clubs, volunteering activities, and make sure that they align with your interests and help you build that belonging. Now, being real here, as a master's student, I don't have a lot of time for friends and social. So, some of the things that I might have done in my community in the past, I don't have the time. But, try to make a bit of time here and there when you can to do the things that feed you. So, online networks. I don't know how much I need to say about this because we've heard it, but it's true. And I know sometimes, you're in this program or you're dealing with people all day as a therapist and you just want to remove yourselves from, people. So you maybe go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever your online network is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but be sure you're limiting your amount of, that kind of connection, and try to keep those real life connections going. I know sometimes for me, I just sit in the room with my best friend and I'll say, I'm tired. I don't feel like talking. She's a teacher. She's fine with it. We just sit there side by side. It's still a social real life connection instead of scrolling. Altruism, helping others, enhances joy and resilience. Well, aren't we doing that every day? That's the career we're in. Let's look at the domain for emotional. Emotional is recognizing, expressing, and managing emotions in healthy and constructive ways. It is essential for resilience, stress management, and overall mental well-being. It strengthens self-awareness and supports healthier relationships. It's important to recognize, express, and manage our feelings in healthy ways, to process emotions by journaling, using creative outlets, and talking it out with a friend, family, and yes, therapists need therapists. It's important also to practice what we preach. So mindfulness, meditation, and using that wise mind. Psychological mental domain. Practices that stimulate the mind, encourage reflection, and support healthy thinking patterns. It enhances clarity, creativity, and resilience. It protects against cognitive fatigue and burnout. It supports problem solving and adaptability. Engage in intellectual activities, so reading, puzzles, thoughtful conversations, professional learning. Practice mindfulness and reflective journaling to increase self-awareness. Take breaks with enjoyable mind activities, so music, humor, creative projects, even daydreaming. Pursue ongoing growth, so workshops, courses, skill building, all important to psychological and mental domain. Let's explore the spiritual domain. It's connecting with meaning, purpose, values, or faith through personal or communal practices. It provides grounding, hope, and direction, fosters resilience during stress, supports overall sense of well-being and fulfillment. It is spending time in reflection, meditation, prayer. It's connecting with nature or quiet spaces that foster peace. It's participating in faith-based or community practices. It's exploring values and purpose, aligning daily choices with them. Spirituality, again, is personal. It's bespoke to your needs and to what feeds you. Let's look at professional. It's setting boundaries, managing workload, and engaging in practices that sustain growth and balance in work or training. It prevents burnout and compassion fatigue. It supports ethical, effective practice, increases satisfaction and sustainability in one's career. An example is setting healthy boundaries with workload, availability, and role expectations. Block protected time for paperwork and study to avoid last-minute stress and role overload. Engage in ongoing professional development, training, workshops, continuing ed. Prioritize balance by taking breaks. Use your vacation time and manage your schedules realistically. Participate in case consultations, supervision, groups. Prevent that isolation and strengthen your clinical practice. Now that we've looked at the domains of self-care, let's actually talk about what it means to create a self-care plan. And it is really important to actually tangibly create this plan. Developing a plan starts with being honest about our current coping habits, so both the helpful and the harmful ones. For example, good coping habits might include journaling, that you go for a walk, that you reach out for support from a peer. On the other hand, some less helpful habits might be procrastinating, overworking, or just turning too much to caffeine, junk food, or screen time, too much screen time. Identifying your needs across all of the domains is really important. The next step is to be sure to identify the barriers. So the things that are getting in the way of your healthier choices, like I can't go to the gym because I don't have enough time. I'm not motivated because I'm not getting enough sleep. I feel guilty about taking breaks because I should really be spending time with my kids. These are just some examples. And once we recognize our barriers, we can work on replacing those harmful strategies or even thoughts with more sustainable ones. For instance, instead of scrolling late at night, we might choose to practice a short relaxation exercise. So instead of isolating ourselves when we're stressed, we might schedule a quick check-in with a classmate or supervisor. The goal is not perfection. It's about building a personalized plan that really supports you through your stress of graduates training and later in our work as counselors. Make sure that you are committing to your plan. And one of the best ways to commit to it is to speak it, is to write it out, is to make it accessible so you see it, whether it's on your phone, on your computer, written out and stuck on your fridge or desk, or post-it notes everywhere. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. It's just really important that you practice and realize that it's really a lifelong habit. So it's as important as sleep, eat, any of those things that we have to do or should be doing every day. Good habits, lifelong habit, self-care. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what that personal self-care plan is going to look like, what it's made up of. Daily. So we're looking at our daily self-care ongoing habits. These are the ones that are small, achievable daily habits, right? So we're talking about regular meals, sleep, exercise, seeing your doctor, holistic doctor, whatever you're comfortable with, emotional, psychological. So we're talking about the journaling, the mindfulness, the expressing your emotions, social, relational, quality time with family and friends, healthy boundaries, peer support. Spiritual is the reflection, meditation, values alignment, and then we have our professional, right? So it's time management, it's organization, and it's that work-life balance. There are times when we're in crisis. It's not necessarily, an intense crisis. It can be those times when you're feeling so overwhelmed. We call this the emergency self-care crisis tools. And these are very important in those acute moments, right? So we're talking calming strategies, deep breathing, grounding, guided imagery, nature breaks, that positive self-talk, talking to yourself as you would to a friend or a client. I can do this, I'm safe, versus I can't handle this. Support systems, you want to make sure you have safe contacts, mentors, supervisors, and please remember to avoid the energy draining people when you need to be fed. Mood boosters, uplifting music, movement, sunlight, hobbies, and resilience anchors. So, a reminder of your values, past coping successes and strategies that you used. These are really important to consider. You want to have those ongoing habits and then have that list of crisis tools that you can turn to in those moments when you're feeling very overwhelmed. So I would like to just show you really quickly an example of this is just a template of a simple self-care plan that you can put into place. You can print it off. You can have it on your computer if you prefer symbols and visuals, whatever you need. It's, again, as I said before, it's bespoke to you. So it's effective to identify these for each area. So you really want to work through each area. Feel free to use this one if you'd like. There's some examples there. One thing I wanted to point out is financial self-care is one that's coming up a lot. More and more people are adding this to the domains to take it to 7 domains. What it means is paying attention to how money impacts your stress and your well-being. So for students or therapists, it can look like budgeting realistically, managing your debt, as a student especially, setting boundaries around unpaid work. Something to think about, setting boundaries around what are you charging? And also, what is a want and what is a need? That's a big one, budgeting for anybody. Taking small intentional steps towards financial stability has been proven to support our sense of security and reduces a lot of the stress that can spill over into other areas of our life. So this is why many people are starting to include financial into the domains of self-care. Let's take a moment to review the key takeaways from today. Balance. Self-care is essential for balancing studies, practicum, personal life, and a practice. Oh, that valley of despair. Remember that growth can include that valley of despair, right? So our confidence dips while our competence starts to stabilize. Very normal. Stressors. We have major stressors at all times in our life, but especially during this program and as practicing therapists. They can include academics, placement, supervision, emotions, and time management, as well as setting those boundaries. Self-care, 6 domains. physical, social, emotional, psychological, spiritual, professional, but also many are starting to consider financial an important domain of self-care. The benefits: resilience, well-being, burnout prevention, sustaining ethical practice, and life enjoyment. It's important to really work on that personal self-care plan. Make sure you're addressing those daily habits, but also ensure that you understand what some of those immediate tools are for self-care during difficult times. Self-care is a lifelong practice, and it evolves as we evolve. It is ever-changing, it is a work in progress, and it needs to adapt to your needs and strengths. And as you change, your self-care plan will likely change as well. A good idea to revisit it often. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and reflect with me today. And thank you even more for taking your own self-care seriously. Because caring for yourself, you strengthen your ability to care for others. Be kind to yourself and take good care.